Distinguished participants, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Dear friends, I regret that I'm unable to join you in person today, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to contribute this brief video message as you begin your important deliberations this week. I'm also pleased that my office is able to join your consultations through the presence in Kinshasa of my Chief of Staff, Mr. Tondorai Chikowa, who will be with you throughout the deliberations. I wish to commend the organizers of this gathering, Slavery in War, the Global Survivors Fund, and the grassroots organizations who have brought together survivors, activists, frontline service providers, experts, and government representatives, all of whom are central stakeholders on the crucial issue of reparations for survivors of conflict-related sexual violence. Allow me to begin by paying a special tribute to the survivors of sexual violence present today from 15 conflict and post-conflict countries. I salute your determination and courage to revisit moments of such great pain and trauma in order for the world to learn from your experience and to heed your calls for meaningful and sustainable change. Indeed, since my appointment by the United Nations Secretary General to lead this mandate to address conflict-related sexual violence, I have been determined to ensure that survivors are its face and that your voices are the moral compass that guides the global response. This is also why I encouraged the United Nations Security Council in 2019 to adopt Resolution 2467, which for the first time articulated a survivor-centered approach in all prevention and response initiatives. Crucially, the resolution amplifies the call for transformative reparations for survivors. Since taking office, I have visited numerous conflict zones around the world, and it has been crystal clear to me that justice and reparations are what survivors of conflict-related sexual violence demand most, and yet receive least often. As victims suffer lasting damage, both physical harm and profound psychological trauma, including debilitating stigma and shame, they cannot fully reclaim their lives without transformative reparations. Moreover, I believe that such reparations are an essential component of restoring peace and security in the aftermath of grave human rights violations. Therefore, the focus of these consultations in Kinshasa could not be more central in terms of the global discourse and efforts to address these heinous crimes. But what does a survivor-centered approach truly mean? For me, it must include tailored and conceptualized solutions, which by definition requires that survivors are given voice and choice. It means restoring the agency of survivors, building resilience, and enshrining the experience of survivors in the historical record. This is one of the reasons that my office convened the Survivors Hearing of 2019 in commemoration of the 10-year anniversary of the establishment of this mandate by the Security Council. Hearing survivors is not only paramount in providing appropriate recommendations for the design and implementation of meaningful and survivor-centric reparations, but it also has a reparative value in itself. I am pleased that some of the main conclusions of my office 2019 Survivors Hearing are also amplified in the initial findings of the Global Survivors Fund study on the needs and opportunities for reparations for survivors of conflict-related sexual violence, and that these findings serve one of the key resources for this hearing. We know that where survivors are given voice and are empowered, more meaningful and rapid progress is made in our response programs. However, to date, in spite of increased efforts to elevate the perspectives of survivors, and despite increased prosecutions and convictions of perpetrators, reparations judicially awarded to the victims generally remain unpaid. Strategies at the local, national, regional, and international levels to ensure justice have also not been effective from the perspectives of victims and survivors of these crimes. That's why, since taking office, I have also emphasized as a key strategic priority the fostering of national responsibility and leadership. For this very reason, I was glad to participate in a conference convened by the First Lady of the DRC a few weeks ago in Kinshasa on the establishment of a national reparations program that is to be enshrined in the law of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. It is important that key recommendations of your meeting this week inform the establishment of a national reparations program that the First Lady is championing. At the same time, she requires your support and solidarity in her efforts to establish such a program, which will be the expression of our collective aspirations for survivors of sexual violence in the DRC after all these years of conflict. We should not lose the opportunity of having such a champion for our collective cause, with the possibility to influence the highest levels of policy and action. While hearings such as the one being convened this week are an essential contribution towards transformative reparations, we must recognize that they are not an end in themselves. They must lead to concrete action. Therefore, I encourage you above all to be action-oriented in the development of the Kinshasa Declaration on the Rights of Survivors of Conflict-Related Sexual Violence, to participate and co-create gender-based reparations, which will be one of the concrete outcomes of your deliberations this week. I wish you fruitful discussions and anticipate the outcome of your deliberations as an important contribution to creating tangible change in all the countries whom you represent and beyond. Thank you.